The government is looking at more ways to support first-time buyers of HDB flats. It's among new commitments to help Singaporeans better access and afford public housing. National Development Minister Desmond Lee outlined them in Parliament this session, where he filed one of two motions on housing policy. He says there was agreement from public engagements that first-time flat buyers should be prioritised.
We are therefore studying how we can provide even more support for such first-time families looking to buy their first home. We're also looking at measures to reduce the high rejection rate for BTO applications to ensure that BTO flats are prioritised for those with genuine and urgent housing needs. And we will consider if more housing support can be given to first-timer couples or first-timers buying a resale flat.
Mr. Lee says there are also plans to launch more new flats with shorter waiting times starting next year.
We aim to reach pre-COVID levels by launching around 2,000 to 3,000 shorter waiting time flats per year by 2025, with waiting times of under 3 years. After that, over a period of time, we will recalibrate our building program so that shorter waiting time flats form a larger proportion of our supply of new flats than today. In this way, we reduce waiting times and better support the home ownership as well as marriage and parenthood aspirations of Singaporeans.
And Mr. Lee also took aim at opposition NCMP Leong Man Wai over repeated claims that BTO flats can be cheaper if HDB doesn't pay for land costs.
If HDB does not pay for fair market value for state land, it means that we are reducing the value of the reserves and allocating more of it to today's housing. By doing so, we're reducing the resources available to meet the other needs of today's generation, as well as the need for future generations. Mr. Leong deliberately avoids these trade-offs and sugarcoats the tough realities that we all face. But government cannot and will not take such an irresponsible approach.
Well, the issue of land costs is the sticking point of the debate on public housing policies, prompted by a motion filed by Progress Singapore Party's Leong Man Wai and Hazel Phua. The non-constituency MPs are proposing new schemes aimed at, quote, resetting Singapore's public housing system so that flats are affordable and accessible for Singaporeans.
The PSP saw the urgent need to reset the public housing policy and has proposed the Affordable Home Scheme and the Millennium Apartment Scheme as solutions to our public housing malaise. With the two schemes, Singaporeans can look forward to a better future where one, owner-occupied public housing is truly affordable as land cost is waived. Two, they can have enough to retire without having to downgrade or sell back their lease to the government.
If the land cost is taken out, the upfront payment will be significantly lower. Secondly, to preserve the value of existing flats. One of the biggest problems in any attempts to offer new flats at lower prices is the uncertainty over the effect on resale prices. However, under this proposal, since land costs must be paid at the point of resale, this puts the new flats on par with the other flats sold earlier with land costs.
About 10 MPs took part in the debate around the two motions today, many of them offering their own suggestions to tackle housing issues. Workers' Party MP Jay Muslim says that the current approach of using public housing transactions to derive land costs lends to the possibility of overvaluing land, even for new BTOs. Now, he suggests not to price land in reference to the market, but via what he calls the fundamentals.
One approach is to peg this at the historical acquisition price, or as Mr. Leong Man Wai has suggested today, to value it, but only to realize the costs after the land is sold for profit. Another way to do so is as a multiple of median salaries of new workers. The Workers' Party would prefer a multiple somewhat closer to 3. But crucially, we should do this preemptively instead of as a target after market valuations have already been set. Doing so will ensure that it is HDB that is driving affordability, not trying to catch up to a market with subsidies.
Nominated MP Chung Sin-yao also weighed in on the issue of land prices. He says that it has to be factored into the cost of public housing as a reflection of investment.
When our investment creates value, we need to be able to capture it and channel it back to the state or our reserves so they can be reinvested to create more value. If we do not factor the value of land into the cost of public housing, we are creating an open loop for the land value to be given away for free.
GPC Chair for National Development Cheryl Chan says changes in demand patterns and lifestyles has impacted how accessible and affordable homes are. And on resale flats in particular, she adds that further mindset shifts are needed to keep them affordable for the younger generation.
1, to convince our parents ourselves to settle for less profits when we sell our subsidised flats. 2, be willing to live in the same property for a much longer time and not inflate the demand on a cyclical basis. 3, to accept a new definition of living proximity to our parents or the extended family in estates that are non-mature and at distances beyond 15 kilometres of one another. 4, and I think this is quite important, do not constantly ask for more subsidies in different forms, because if we are honest about it, we know this must be paid through taxes or some other means.
The debate continues tomorrow with about a dozen more MPs expected to speak.